Hello friends, this is Jasu Bakuhatsu, coming at you live on Twitch, as it turns out. This playthrough will end up going on the YouTube channel, but yeah, this is basically a live Let's Play of Undertale. This is, of course, a game that I've done already played on the channel. I did a little blind first impressions run where I just sort of ran through the game completely unspoiled and blind and offered you my commentary and reaction as we went through. And now I actually did go back and play through the game a second time. I've seen basically almost everything there is to see about this game, and I think I've decided I really do think that you need to see kind of the full Pacifist playthrough and the true ending in order to get the full experience out of the game. So just to make sure that I can give that to you guys, we're actually going to do the Pacifist run-through of Undertale to let you guys see the true ending, and really kind of leave you with like give you the full Undertale experience, because I think the standard neutral playthrough is just a little bit unfulfilling, especially compared to just sort of the big sense of closure that the Pacifist ending gets you. So, and of course I have done this playthrough before, so this is going to be more of the Let's Play style, where I'm actually a bit knowledgeable about the game that I'm playing through, and am able to give a little bit of sort of demonstration and a bit more thoughtful commentary with any luck. I will not be reading the on-screen text this time, just because I find that tends to inflate the playtime, since a lot of this is going to be stuff that you'll have seen before if you watched my neutral playthrough. So we're gonna kind of keep a little bit of a mind to speed here. So we're gonna do a reset here. Which basically means just start the game over. Name has already been chosen. You know, Jasu's, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for our game character. So yeah, let's start things up on Undertale. There are a few little differences that occur on a second playthrough, actually. Most notably, if I'm not mistaken, Flowey... Oh no, he is here. That's interesting. See, last time I did I think it's because I killed Flowey on my, I think if you kill Flowey on your neutral playthrough, he doesn't show up on the next playthrough. But actually, since last time I played through, like I did a neutral playthrough before, in preparation to unlock the true Pacifist playthrough. Oh! This is interesting. So, okay, I'm actually, it turns out we're going to be seeing some stuff for the first time here, too. So at the end of my... Well, this is actually really surprising. So at the end, I did another neutral playthrough in order to unlock the Pacifist playthrough for this playthrough I'm doing now, and I mercied Flowey. You'll remember I killed Flowey at the end of my YouTube playthrough, but I mercied him on my last off-camera playthrough, and he sort of gives you a hint at how to get the real ending. Like, he says, try playing through and don't kill anyone, and he's actually like showing up and like reminding me that we did that. I actually completely forgot about that. I was not going to remember to bring that up, and he's not even going to attack me, and Toriel's just going to... Wow, this is actually... I'm kind of really impressed at this game at this point. I was not expecting to see new stuff on this. This is like my fourth time through the game at this point, and it's like really surprising. Because yeah, when I did my first off-camera Pacifist playthrough, Flowey didn't even show up here because I killed him on the previous playthrough. So this is... That's really neat. I'm actually... It turns out we're going to get like a bit of blind first impressions, reaction stuff that, that I said that we wouldn't be doing this time, but there we go. But yeah, most of this is the same. So a lot of your second playthrough is... Basically all of the new stuff that the Pacifist ending, or that the Pacifist playthrough and the true ending adds comes towards the end of the game. So like pretty much everything up until like right before the final boss fight with Asgore, everything is almost exactly the same, with a few differences in terms of the bosses that we're going to spare this time that I didn't get to spare last time because I couldn't figure it out. So we are actually going to be so I guess the new content on the regular playthrough this time around is we're going to be sparing Toriel. I know how to do that now, and we're going to be sparing Undyne, which is... I actually forgot about that. We're gonna... There's some fun stuff ahead after we get to the Undyne fight that I almost regret not being able to show off on my little first blind playthrough, which is another reason why I thought that it was kind of necessary to do this second playthrough. But yeah, other than that though, like everything but yeah, other than those few things that are just like sort of differences in terms of like what you need to do on a pacifist playthrough, other than that, everything is pretty much exactly the same as a standard playthrough, which means I'm kind of going to be rushing through things a little bit here up until the end. Which means I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful, because I tend to do stupid things when I'm like trying to speed through stuff and flapping my gums at the same time. I gotta be really careful I don't like accidentally kill a monster or accidentally eat that goddamn snowman piece again. It was like that stupid churl thing, or the Cheryl thing from Azure Dreams all over again. I ate the snowman piece. I still feel terrible about that. We're gonna actually. I don't think that eating the snowman piece screws you out of the pacifist ending, but still, we're gonna remember this time, by God. Okay. I actually didn't even notice this on my first playthrough. This actually is like kind of a puzzle. It's like the pathway through these spikes matches the little light-colored segments on the ground at the opposite end of this room. Not that it really matters, since Toriel's just gonna literally hold your hand through it anyways, but it's not even dangerous. You don't... Because yeah, if you... No, I can't actually go back in there, but if you do, later on in the game, try and go back through that room. Like, you can't even accidentally walk on the spikes. It's like the spikes that don't retract are just a wall, so it's like literally not even a dangerous puzzle. Which, honestly, knowing that almost just kind of adds to the humor of Toriel's little hand-holding bit there. There's a lot of stuff, actually, that becomes sort of more endearing on a second playthrough. In fact, once we get to Toriel's house, there's another couple things I'll be able to point out. So yeah, all of this is pretty much the same as a standard playthrough. Oh yeah, we got Toriel on the phone here. I can't remember if I talked to Toriel on the phone much in my my first YouTube playthrough of this game. And why can I... Oh yeah, because I don't have any items. Anyways, and again, this is a pacifist playthrough. We're gonna be a good little boy or girl. Kind of hard to... Again, I actually really like the character sprite in this game. It's like the androgyny, I think, works in the game's favor. It's like, you know, the player is you. Like, in terms of sort of the whole player avatar approach. Oh, and actually, okay, anyways, I think you get what I'm getting at there. Cool thing about these guys, so you notice, I didn't even notice this my first time through the game, these guys are actually yellow right when you encounter them, so you don't even need to do anything to these guys in order to mercy them. But if you do just mercy them without any action, you get 0 gold for it. And that's kind of the trick with the pacifist playthrough. You can just run from every encounter and sort of do your pacifist playthrough that way, but there's some... You will be wanting gold for this playthrough, and the tough thing with the pacifist run... Oh, actually, this is neat. Which do I prefer, cinnamon or butterscotch? Now, you remember from the original playthrough, we'd actually get a chance to answer, but here, she just somehow has a feeling that it might be cinnamon. Because indeed, I don't know, it's like weird stuff. It's like the player's memory kind of carries over between play sessions, because it seems that there's some stuff where like the monsters even, or the NPCs, feel like I already know them. Because she remembers from the previous playthrough. Feels like we're seeing an old friend from the first time. It's like, I wish there were more of this kind of stuff in subsequent playthroughs. That's like one of the few bits of dialogue that actually changes for your second playthrough. Just kind of changes things up and makes it worth paying attention to the dialogue your second time through the game. And of course, apparently she remembered that we prefer cinnamon, but didn't quite remember that, we went through the whole won't turn up your nose at butterscotch thing as well. So, okay. Anyways, what I was getting at earlier, so back to the combat and enemy stuff. So you're going to be really low-leveled on your pacifist playthrough on account of the fact that you can't gain any execution points or what was it, level of violence, which means you're going to be stuck at 20 HP for the entire game. And actually, I think you can do anything to these guys, and that'll let you get the money. So anyways, we're going to be on really low life for this entire playthrough, which is going to make things there. You see, we got 2 gold that time. Going to make things a bit tough, which means you do want a lot of that money to get the healing items. Especially, once you get to the last few boss fights of the game. Being stuck on 20 HP when the enemies are dealing out 4 or 5 damage a pop you're going to want to be really stocking up on the healing items in order to have the easiest time, I guess. And actually, you know what? I'm going to pretend that I'm going to assume that a lot of the people watching this won't be I'm rambling again. Again, it's when there's text on the screen, I have a hard time. It's just I can't help but read it, and it interferes with the commentary. Okay, what I'm getting at is I'm going to assume that at least some people watching this are doing it to kind of experience the game. Like, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about in terms of like what's going to happen later and what sort of how a lot of the stuff we're seeing is going to relate to the true ending of the game. But I don't quite want to do that, so I'm going to try to avoid dropping like spoilers for the true ending and sort of take that kind of stuff as it comes. Oops. Actually, it's actually going to be a bit of a difficult game to commentate over now that I think of it. It's like, oh dang, I forgot to get the money from Whimsy. Oh well. And now I've completely lost track of what I was talking about in the first place. Oh yeah, so yeah, the game's pretty tough, basically, when you've got to do like a whole violence level 1 playthrough. Oh, actually, this is something a bit interesting. This is going to be the one fight in the game that we're actually gonna fight him. We're gonna kill this son of a bitch. I almost feel kind of bad about this, just because Napstablook is so adorable. And actually, this is almost kind of a waste of time, but something kind of funny happens here. So if it wasn't obvious by the fact that I'm doing this, this is the one enemy in the game that you can actually kill, and it won't affect your pacifist playthrough for reasons that will be explained in a bit. Although and I'm just kind of doing this to show it off, but actually, and again, the pacifist way of beating this boss is actually much faster than the sort of quote-unquote lethal way. But I already showed off the sort of the oops, oh dear. That attack is actually weirdly difficult to dodge, like for a first, just for like a first mid-boss. Like, this is not entirely immediately obvious what you need to do to dodge that. Okay, so that should kill him, except, you know, he's a ghost, and you can't kill ghosts. Why did his damage go down? He was just lowering it himself because he didn't want to be rude. He just wanted us to feel good about ourselves. I didn't even hurt him, and I feel bad for trying to hurt him. So yeah, that has absolutely no effect on your pacifist run or anything at all. And actually, so you see here, you lost 1 experience point, and that's another cute little thing that the meaning of that, it actually spells out experience point and doesn't say EXP, because of course we know from our neutral playthrough that EXP does not stand for experience. Or actually, oh, I do want this spider donut, so we are going to have to grind up a little bit of money here. It's going to save time in the long run, trust me. Actually, can we even fight enemies in this room? I think we can. Yeah. Okay. How do we do this? Okay, so I want to act on this guy to get a bit of the money. Oh god, they explode. Yeah, this game is like all of the things that make it difficult to commentate over. We've got like twitch dodging and like shmuppy skills, and we've got text and dialogue, and it's just nuts. This is just, I don't know. It'll be good practice, at least. So yeah, we definitely want this donut, because that's gonna make the fight with Muffet later on in the game much faster. And again, that's kind of part of the really good design, I think. Oh yeah, I forgot I was gonna talk tutorial on the phone as well. So yeah, right. There's actually some of the stuff you can say tutorial on the phone actually will come back later on in the game. So we're actually going to clean out her dialogue here. I don't remember if I showed this off in my first playthrough of the game or not, so we're just going to go through all of it. Oh, this is actually okay. We're gonna have to keep on doing this. This is just salutations. Is that enough? No, it's not enough. We need to say hello 1 billion times. Pretend you are a monarch. What a strange dream. Why would she suggest something like that? Roll over the leaf path. So that kind of makes you wonder what kind of Queen Toriel was in the first place. Like, I know she ditched Asgore So it's over sort of philosophical differences over whether or not to kill the humans. But this line here makes me wonder. Can I rule over... Apparently, we're too far away from the leaf pile to rule over it with a fist of iron at this point, unfortunately. I think that... Is that all she says at this point? Or does she... Yeah, that's all she says at this point. But yeah, the other stuff we want to run through as well. Okay, what order are we going to do this? The order... So it seems kind of weird that you can do these two things. You can call her mom, and you can flirt with her. Why would you want to flirt with someone who you're calling your mom? Well, I won't go through in order, though. She does have different... I have tested this out. She does have different reactions, though, depending on which one you do first. So you see, we've called her mom now. Now we're going to flirt with her a bit. Oh, okay, we're going to flirt with her a little bit more. Yeah. That's just... I didn't even notice this last time. Look at her face. That's just hilarious. Oh, this game is too funny. This honestly might be one of the funniest games I think I've ever played. I don't know. The humor is just right up my alley. The bad, even stuff as basic as the bad skeleton jokes. It's just, I don't know. All the dialogue in this game is just such a treat. You know what? I think I do actually want to fight these guys. Just again. Alright, actually, so the way I beat these guys on my regular playthrough is you weaken them, then you devour them. The other option you have here is he actually gives you a hint, which I didn't get the first time through the game. So he's offering me a healthy meal and telling me to eat your greens. And actually, we know, I did learn later on in my first playthrough that, yeah, green means healing. So you can totally just hit green stuff, and that'll heal you, and indeed, that's the other way you can spare this guy. And in fact, I skipped over the tutorial frog that says it, but one of the tutorial-giving frogs kind of leads you astray a little bit. Like, he mentions that in order to spare some enemies, one way that you can spare enemies is to weaken them first, and then that'll unlock the option to spare them. And that's not untrue. One way that you can spare some of these enemies is by weakening them, but it's never necessary. Every single enemy in the game has an option has some means of sparing them that does not require you to fight them. You don't ever have to use the fight command at all in a pacifist playthrough. Or on a standard neutral playthrough, you'll have to use it to beat Asgore in the end. That's the one exception. The final... Yeah, when you're fighting Asgore in a neutral playthrough, you absolutely have to fight him and you have no choice. Every other enemy in the game can be beaten without ever using the fight command. The game kind of suggests to you that you might have to, but it's not entirely lying. That is an option for some fights, but it's never necessary. And in fact, I think that's kind of the way that... I think that's deliberate. I think the game actually sort of deliberately misleads you in that regard in order to... Basically, in order to set up that accidental Toriel kill. Oh, god damn it. Oh well, we'll try it again. There we go. Because yeah, so I got a few things wrong, or some of my assumptions were wrong in my initial playthrough of the game. I mentioned how I knew that it wasn't possible to get the pacifist ending your first time through the game, and so I had heard that, and what I assumed that meant is that... I forget the color that we need to go through here. Blue switch, that's this one. Anyways, I knew that you couldn't get the pacifist ending your first time through. I thought that meant that it's not possible to spare everyone, so I sort of took that to mean that, okay, doesn't seem like there's any way to spare Toriel. They probably force you to kill her your first time through. It turns out I was wrong about that, and it's just that the means of sparing her is a little bit counterintuitive. And I think the game deliberately misleads you in that regard as well. I think that just that little hint that the frog gives you is like, try weakening the enemies, and then so it's like, okay, you weaken Toriel, and you might get that random bit of huge damage, and she dies without you wanting to kill her. I think that's totally intentional by the developers in order to set up so another neat surprise that can happen there. Anyways, I'm kind of going ahead a little bit in my commentary to the boss fight, and a lot of that is just because I do think that the boss fights are really much more the most interesting part of the game by far. really, yeah, in terms of gameplay, at least. Obviously, you know, the plot and the humor and the characters and the world are the best parts of the game. But in terms of just like your basic gameplay, I believe it was the red one here. Probably shouldn't have assumed that. Oh, it looks like I was right. And we want to... don't pick on him. So yeah, I do think, like, in terms of gameplay, the boss fights are the highlight of this game, which is kind of why I'm so eager to talk about all the interesting things that are sort of going on with some of these boss fights. And sort of the counterpoint to that is, I think the least interesting point of the game by far is sort of the dungeons and the random encounters, which is unfortunately, dang it, a lot of what you're going to be doing in sort of your second run through of the game to get that pacifist ending. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of, and it's honestly, I was not. There's going to be a video going up on the channel before this one does, just sort of summarizing my overall impressions of Undertale as a whole after completing my pacifist playthrough. And okay, I didn't screw that up. One of the things that I mentioned in that video is that yeah, I was really not. I was not going to do the pacifist, the whole pacifist ending thing, just after my first playthrough. After my first playthrough, I was like, okay, that was neat. The ending was was nice, but a little bit unfulfilling. I don't know if I want to go through all of those big long dungeons and all these cutscenes I've already seen just to get a new ending. And I had decided that, okay, I'm not going to play through this game again. So it was only when basically I was just sitting around one day. I had nothing better to do, because I was some videos were processing on my main computer, so I thought, what can I play on my shitty little laptop here? Undertale, I guess, and we'll see that pacifist ending. And I was glad that I did in the end, because like I said, I do think that pacifist playthrough is kind of necessary to get the full satisfying conclusion to the game. But yeah, the downside of that is there's a lot of redoing just like all the dungeons and the cutscenes and everything in order to get at that good stuff. Which is why, again, to that end, I'm kind of going to be trying to speed through the game. Oh, that little head pat's still so adorable. I just love that. Okay, there's some stuff that I missed on my first playthrough. Or not that I missed, but just that I didn't notice. Some stuff you can examine in Toriel's room. First of all, she's got a small chair that's named Cheryl, and that's just... that's just wonderful. And so, another thing I did note, later on in the game, when you come to sort of into, I guess, what's Asgore's house, and you get to look in his room, and you look at his bed, and it's a king-sized bed, and it's like, haha, that's cute. A king-sized bed for a king. So now you go back to the start of the game, on a second playthrough, you look at Toriel's bed, and what kind of bed does Toriel have? Well, it's definitely bigger than a twin-sized bed, so they're just kind of dancing around it there. Because, you know, queen-sized bed might have been a bit too obvious, so it's like, we'll just go a little bit off from that, just not to give away the game. And then the second time you go through the game, you know what they mean. And that's just... those kinds of little touches in the dialogue, I think, are just wonderful. And anyways, we're actually going to grab that butterscotch pie. You can actually miss it. You don't have to get this pie. You can just go straight to Toriel, start talking to her, and yeah, move on with the game. But we want that butterscotch pie, again, because we're going to be so hard up for healing items on this run through. This is another thing I kind of wanted to show off. This is kind of fun. As much as I say I want to rush through the game, I do want to take... like, we're rushing through the game, but I kind of also want to take time to show off some of the fun little bits that I missed on my first blind playthrough that I did on the channel, so... It's just amazing how much dialogue they put into the game that most players aren't even going to see on a standard playthrough. It's like she's changing it a little bit each time, and then things will kind of escalate from here. Okay, I don't know, am I going to go all the way to the end here? There is a lot of different stuff that she's going to be saying by the time we get through this. Well, okay, we've come this far. Let's just go through all of it. Anyways, I'll take this opportunity to take a drink. Okay, and I think that's the end of it. And again, that expression on her face is just priceless. I don't think you can, as far as I know, I think that's the only way you can get that expression on her face. That's the only way you can see that facial expression, I think, is by doing that. So yeah, there's like even hidden artwork, sort of, or hidden character portraits almost, that most players won't see on a standard playthrough. And so yeah, just hidden depths. I just really like. How about 72 ways to exit the ruins? That sounds like a. Oh, that's actually different than the hint I got on the last playthrough. I wonder if this is randomized too. Anyways, that's kind of. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. Oh, and actually, so there was that bit. So in my standard playthrough, we had that conversation with Sans, where we find out that he's got this little through the doorway relationship with Toriel, and we find out that the whole reason that he's been helping us on the whole time through our journey is because Toriel kind of asked him to look out for us. I like to. And the question is, when exactly did that happen? Because we know that there were 6 previous humans who fell down into the underground, and they all died apparently. So the question I have is, when did Toriel give Sans that sort of mission to protect the human children that come through the door? And I like to think that she only just said it just recently, after meeting us, maybe while we were asleep. Maybe she went out to the door and asked Sans to protect us, because I don't know, I sort of like that interpretation a little bit better than she told Sans a long time ago to protect the humans, and he just fucked up protecting the other 6. So I like to think that she specifically gave him that instruction with regard to us, to our player character, after meeting us. Either say, I think the best timing on that is, the most dramatic time for that to happen was when we take our little nap in our little bed there, just while she's baking the butterscotch pie. She just went out to tell Sans not to please protect us if we happen to get out the door.